Is this thing on? Are we live? Are this thing's a working? God, we got some kind of funky balancing act going on here. What's the deal? What's happening, everybody? If everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this, hopefully you're not getting dizzy just yet. But we all know that this is just a background noise generating appliance for you. So if you're watching this, I actually kind of feel sorry for you because it's about the only thing you're going to see during the chat. Anyway, we're talking about pretty much whatever you guys want to chat about. Going to be on for around an hour. Typically, open chats are they're really viewer guided. Yeah, that's the main thing when it comes to these types. So to get us kicked off, talking about cars, it's kind of a weird thing. I'm not really seeing anything worth getting overly excited about. Old school stuff is getting rickety and rusty. And to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of repowers. So finding something out there that I could get into is tough. Although my wife, Smoking Hot, and I, with a quick trip over to the Spirit Halloween, bumped into that same Aspen RT that if it ever comes up for grabs, I'm grabbing it, boys. So you'll know something has happened if you see a brown Aspen RT as my thumbnail image. Nitro Crew is in. Got the flex with the ball guy in the shades. I like it. Hard Rock is in. Clay is in. So guys, tonight, again, it's an open chat. So really not much of a monologue, just letting you guys in on some things that I'm either working on or some of the stuff that I've seen that's floating around out there. And the reason why I would love to do an Aspen RT, especially in Malaise Brown, is because I'm getting to the point now where I don't like Chevelles. I don't like the normal stuff that's out there. It's not that I've got a beef with any of these vehicles. It's just that, my God, they've been done to tears. And something out there would be cool. Yeah, not even a Duster. At this stage of the game, have you seen what Dusters go for? It's obscene. That's why I'm thinking, man, some of these absolutely obscure two-door, they had a V8 in them. Just the things that you can find out there. There's some cars out there that exist, but anyway, something like that, it would be tough. Like, how would I build it type of a thing? You almost with the Terminator X software, you would almost have to go with either a 392 or a 5.7 Hemi swap with the trans, get the drive shaft, and just shuck everything out of the car, put everything new in, bolt it in with whatever you got to do, wire it up. And with that Terminator X harness, it's just click, 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 and you're done. Tune it or just let it run itself if it's a stock cam deal that I would do, which the odds of that are pretty slim, but you get the idea. Just to get the thing up and running, that would be a fun project. So I am just kind of waiting. One day, maybe there'll be a for sale sign. This is one of those situations, though, unfortunately, I have a feeling that car is never going to come up for sale. It'll end up rotting into the earth before these people. It's one of those deals. And I don't know that I'm overly motivated to try to pry the thing out of their hands, but I'm telling you right now, if I can do it, I will. So, Clay's asking, if I already have a Trimi TR 6065.7, can I just swap 6.4 straight over? Sure. Absolutely. But I probably wouldn't do it. The problem is that your operating system, yes, it would work, but I would just suggest putting a 6.1 intake on the thing. Because you don't want to try to deal with the variable runner intake. It's just going to be more of a pain in the ass. So just make the 6.4, if displacement is really all you're looking for, act more like the 5.7 that's in the car, and you can tune around the rest of it. Is be pretty easy because there's not a lot that's going to separate the two, quite frankly. They're the same architecture, basically the same block, except for bore size and the reciprocating side of it also. The other thing you might consider, if you're pulling that engine anyway, Why not just put a stroker and a set of 4-inch pistons and rods in your 5.7? You know, going from 5.7 liter to 6.2 or 6.4, it might end up being less expensive just dragging over to the machine shop with the parts, unless you've got a really good inside line on a 6.4. Nitro said, hey, be going to do the VIN brick on the 2016 Hellcat. If I swap PCMs around for smog, I assume that has nothing to do with the PCM. It has nothing. You're talking about the RFE bricking that, and that's what will keep the. That's a an anti-theft thing. It's what makes your fobs work. But if you brick the RFID, it means you can't make keys for it. But it has nothing to do with the ECU. And swapping the PCMs for smog, I'm hoping that it works, but it's still going to throw a P1400 code. So just know that if they're hunting a P1400 code, it will still throw it, because those codes are hard set in the computer. Skids is in. What's up, man? Hardar saying, I actually like pure stock muscle car drag racing better than modded classes, even though the times are slower to today's standards. The cars look, sound, and perform the way they're supposed to. Let me just jump in here on that. I agree with you, and I agree with you like times 10. And the reason for like the pure stock stuff, because I don't care what the numbers are. Like, I don't care that they're slower. See, the problem is that they're not slow. What people are suffering through today are cars that are simply fast as hell. You know, an RT Challenger bone stock on a tire is a low 13-second, high 12-second car. A 6.4 car in really good air is almost guaranteed to run 11s if you run a drag pack wheel and tire setup on it. I guess the point that I'm getting to here is, I like any kind of racing. I like the old school stuff, and I like to see the reality of what it looked like back in the day when those cars were running. I am completely disinterested in the number. I just like seeing them go down the track. Whoever gets to the end of the quarter mile first, cool. But, you know, you got traction issues you've got to go up against. You got, what the hell is up my face right now? Shit. It's like this earlier. Let's have a nose hair that's trying to find a friend up in my brain. Anyway, I'm right there with you. I mean, I don't know. I don't care what the cars run. I really don't. I am not a size queen when it comes to ETs and miles per hour. Of course, I want to get the best I can out of the combination. But the problem is that you ruin things by comparison. And that's the way that I see it. So, yeah, I don't mind if the cars run 15s. If they run a 15, great. If it's a good race, that's really all I care about. Skid's asking, when is bike chat? Ask me whatever questions you want about bikes. We can talk about that new Triumph Speed Twin RS. There's a new Speed Twin that's coming out that is pretty killer. It's got a quick shifter, reposition pegs, and it's the cheat code that I've been telling folks about forever. When I'm at the dealership, I'm talking to prospective buyers on that bike, flip the bar mount, and it gets you a more aggressive riding position. Pretty simple. All you got to do is flip the bar mount. That's it. 2 screws up top, 2 screws, or actually 4 screws up, 2 screws on bottom, flip, and it's done. Looks like they've done that. The bar position is also a little bit lower. It's got a different handlebar. The tune is now the Thruxton's tune, which means it picks up 5 horsepower. It's got a shorter can, which makes it look better, sound a little bit better. It's still a Speed Twin, so it looks like it's got the removable DV killer, which is cool. It's got the better suspension setup. The regular Speed Twin has been, I don't want to say downgraded a little bit. It's just the RS is significantly upgraded. So there's that. Let's see what else is up. Oh, different headlight. The only thing I don't like about that bike, it's like I like it, but I don't. They went to the Trident 660 single display as opposed to the twin clocks. It's either going to go over cool or not go over cool. I don't really have beef with that. Just like the aesthetic of the twin clocks a little bit better. Clay is in saying, thank you. Yeah, absolutely, dude. I mean, bro, look, it's chef's choice on that. But if it's my money and my car, if that engine's got to come out anyway, I'm not going to buy a 6.4. Now you got to find something to do with a 5.7. It's a perfectly serviceable deal. Just do like a 10 over or a 20 over on the piston side. You know, throw a 4-inch stroke in or something like that, you know, a 380 stroke in it, and just let it. That's what I would do. Set it up for like an 11.5 to 1 compression. That'd be a fun enough car. Plus, you don't have to worry about all the rest of the crap. It's when it comes to stuff like that, I try to have an understanding point of view. I understand guys want the 6.4. It's kind of a neat, oh, look what I did. The difference in power is there's a little bit of a difference in power between, like, say, for example, if you did a 392 stroker and a 5.7 versus a 392, cam for cam, intake for intake, the bigger bore is going to make more power just because it has the intake valves are less shielded. It's a larger bore, so air gets into the cylinder. The other setup's just got a longer stroke. I wouldn't worry about that so much. Unless you got a buyer for your 5.7 and you got a 6.4 block just kind of laying around. Again, if the thing's coming out and you're going to spend money or not spend money, I put a mild stroker together and, you know, with a good, like a 224, 230 cam. Actually, I go 224, 232. You want to air a little bit more on the side of the exhaust on the 5.7 strokers, but you'll be happy with that. It'd be a fun. Oh, and on like 113 degree LSA too. Clay is in saying thank you. Good evening, y'all from DM. Saying I also like running cars against each other that have smaller builds. Guys who truly aren't chasing number just want to see how fast their car is. Look, man, I like. See, the problem is that I have a problem with guys that will just go soft on a build. Like, build a clean running car. When I say clean, I mean crisp, with a reasonable RPM range. Like, say, shift point 6,000 RPM or somewhere in that range. I like cars in that range for the street, especially old school stuff, because you're talking, once you get into that range, you're just from the airflow around, assuming you've got the right cam, the right heads, the right intake manifold, the right carburetor, the right exhaust. If you've got a shift point of 6,000 RPM, you've got some realistic, honest to God shift point at 6,000 RPM. That'll give you about 500 RPM of over rev, and you're going to be playing with about 425 to 475 horsepower, depending on if it's a small block. The big block stuff, you're going to be looking at about, I don't know, call it, let's say you're shifting at 5,500. That's plenty for the street, and it's fun. That's about where the fun begins and where it ends, because to go any further, you're talking about an NA build, and at that point, every dollar you put into that build is going to yield you less and less and less of a result. Believe me when I tell you, my boys, it ain't worth it. So stick with the street combos. And if you want to build a race car, build a freaking race engine to go along with it. There's nothing worse. And I mean, when it comes to car stuff, there is very little else that will absolutely sour your perception of the vehicle that you're working with. If you try to overbuild and build more of a race engine for the street, all you're going to have is a really slow race car or a really annoying street car. It will not be good at anything except putting money in the bank of the people that were selling you the parts. Again, stick with the recipes that work. They are very segmented, but believe me, stick with that. Don't try to fudge or hedge in either one direction, and you'll be fine. Lee Hancock made me laugh. Hardar said, I drove a Tesla Plaid. I drove a 68 Super B. 446 pack was more fun. It's a real automobile. Yeah, I mean, the Plaid is really fast, but the Plaid is really fast, but it's just not the same. It's a completely different driving experience. Chris's Garage, 6.1. 6.1. Great setup. Prettiest of all the Hemis by far. Prettiest of all the Hemis, and it's not hindered by anything. One of the things that I like about the 6.1 liter is the durability, especially with a NAG 1. If you don't go crazy with the build, just throw some, you even have to throw long tubes. You throw some long tubes on it with, you know, the stock cat back, or go with like a MagnaFlow. Those actually sound really good on a 6.1 with long tubes. Tune, NAG 1s are great. If you want to throw different gear in it, you can, but I've always really liked the NAG 1 6.1 variants. My all-time favorite vehicle was a Dodge D100 that had a 6.1 and a NAG 1 swap. In fact, I did the initial tune on that, and then Alex came in and buttoned the tune up, and I did the drivability validation on that truck. And man, I wanted to just point sucker west and just freaking run away with it, just elope with that truck. I loved that thing. All right, saying drivability issues with a race setup on the street. Yeah, get ready. And a lot of, I mean, LS guys find this out the hard way. I mean, with my vet, it was kind of the same way. I had a C5 Z06 with a whole lot of cam in it. And as fun as it was to run the car and just rip it, the issue that I had is that drivability suffered quite a bit. Man, when that thing was running, it was running really good. You know, something to be said for that that LS platform. And that's one thing that I have to admit, that's one part of the LT family just in general. If there was a port injection option, I think I would feel a little bit better about it. Although you talk to the engineers and they talk about those the carbon deposits on the intake valves. You're like, look, man, you shower down on that thing a few times and it'll clean those things right off either way. I'm going, well, maybe not. I mean, we would see the trucks come in with the, you know, the little donut, little carbon donut on the intake valves, but we never did see any big issues in terms of the things not making any power because of it. I mean, the thing still ran great. So, you know, no harm, no foul, I suppose, on that. But anyway, I would like to see maybe a port injection version of that. I don't know. We're running out of, and I guess this is really more the point. But guys, we're running out of simple combinations to build and to work on. The LS is the last bastion of hope for most of those. So we'll see. It's good saying, see the 14 Triumph T-Bird for sale up in Oklahoma, 5,000 miles, asking 5,500. Seems like a decent deal. He has a small scratch on the front fender. Seems all that's wrong with it. I tell you what, I will, the great bike, when they run good, I have got to get mine into the shop. It's developed a misfire at high load, low RPM. And I cannot, for the flipping life of me, diagnose it. I've tried data logging it, but the problem is that Tune ECU software's refresh rate is so freaking slow that I can't get an accurate read on the map sensors to find out if I've got a slow to react or a failing map sensor. With no map sensor leaks, I have no hose leaks, I have no vacuum leaks, which will freak out and piss off a speed density setup like what's on that bike. I've also got nothing in terms of a bad ground that I can find, missing leads, anything like that. I cannot find any type of, what am I trying to say here? I can't find a failure and I can't make it fail. And here's the twist. It's heat related also. So if I've been riding the bike for a while and I say I'm on the highway, 6th gear, I slow the thing down to say 2,000 RPM and I start rolling into the throttle pretty hard, 2,500 RPM, whatever, as it gets to it, runs like a champ. If I sit at a stoplight, things get hot, put it into gear and go to get away from a light, it will stall and stumble until it gets its act together. So inconsistent with the way that it runs, it seems to be consistent with temperature. So I'm thinking, okay, I've got a pissed off map sensor somewhere. That's typically what will cause that. It means it's just over fueling the living hell out of it. and it acts like it's only on one cylinder. But again, because the refresh rate is so bad, I can't in a data log get an accurate shot of what's going on. And the other thing is the way that software, this is so stupid, but the way that software data logs, I can only capture one of the map sensors, and it's the one that I think is working right. So anyway, it's got to go in, and I've got to actually have it hooked up to a machine that has a much better refresh rate than just the stuff that I've got. It's not going to get there. It's just saying, geez, is that something common with T-Birds? It is, but not for the reason that I'm running into. It looks like that is a common issue on some of the older ones with the map sensor lines getting loose, and it would create a situation where the map sensor itself would intermittently, basically what would happen is it would just give a bad reading. But the problem is that it is audible when that hose is leaking. So I don't know. And this is a pretty significant misfire. Like, it would have to be off of the thing for it to misfire this bad. So we shall see. Sovereign 9 is in. What is up? Hardar saying, what's your dream build for a street truck? F100, C10, etc. Off-road, slam it down for the street. I've got two. One would be a regular cab short bed F-150 4x4, dropped, welds all the way around, twin turbo, 331 geared truck. That would be my street truck build. The other build would be something. It would be a 3/4 ton like I had with Sierra, but with an LS3, and just have something fun like that. The season thing really isn't my bag. I like them. Don't get me wrong; they're really cool, but they became way too popular, and as such became way too expensive. The other thing, if we want to call it a truck, and there's one right freaking over here, and if I had the balls to do it, it is a long bed J10 Jeep, and that is actually more my speed. And what I'd like to do with that is just do a really just any LS swap in that thing, and that would be pretty sick. But I don't know. The problem is that I love the idea of the old school trucks. Obviously, a D150 is the one that I wanted the most, and but again, finding one became extremely difficult. I thought that I really did, guys. I thought that I had an inside line on one. And the guy ended up keeping it. In fact, the guy ended up keeping it and put a really pretty root beer brown paint job on that truck. Before that, it was just kind of Malaise brown, which is one of my favorite colors. DM, could it be the fault of the coil packs? It very well could be. Here's the problem, though. To really check it, I might as well just put new coil packs on it. And so what I want to do is get the thing in anyway. And if it is coil pack, I thought about the coil pack thing, but here's the problem. It is temperature related, which made me initially think the coil packs, but the bike it's not as consistent as I would like for it to be. And typically when coil packs fail, they kind of just fail. But I have had them kind of hang in there too. So anyway, it's really difficult. It's not injector that I can tell. Certainly not the fuel pump. Not even close to that type of a symptom. But you're exactly right. It's down to map sensor or coil pack. And it would be weird if it was coil pack, only because it's such a young-ish setup. I'm almost curious if I thought it might have been like a rectifier issue. It could have been anything. I checked all of that. Charging system, voltage, everything is perfectly fine. So yeah, it's definitely electrical, and it could very well be coil packs. At this stage of the game, look, if I need to replace coil packs, got to replace coil packs. That's where we're at. But good call on that. We shall see. Skid say, my dream build changes from day to day. Today, it's a 79 D100 Hellcat swap bag. Last week, I was on the bump side F-150 Coyote swap. Hey, true that. But I want to find a difficult to find extended cab lowered. I mean, the funny thing about that, I've even thought of one thing that would be cool is to find a flare side. Just do a Coyote swap with that. The old pinkish purple color with the flare, all of that livery. Set that thing down on a really nice looking set of welds, Coyote swap that thing. That'd be pretty sick, I mean, just stuff like that. Again, it's finding something that, I like the stuff that's ugly too. I like the things that, folks just really don't gravitate towards. Like if I could have found one, I would have done a Coyote swap Edsel, you know what I mean? Like just anything that's kind of out there and outlandish. But that's the type of stuff that I would find myself wanting to get into. It's more, it's more along those lines, finding something that nobody liked or somebody dismissed, and then build something sick to death. It just kind of shuts everybody down. That's more my style. And, at least it is nowadays. I've found, and really not try to chase a number, just something that sounds good, lights the tires up, something that is sharp, different. And because here's the thing, and it's easy to say it, dude, an AMC Matador would be dope as flip. And I wouldn't even have to be a Hellcat. I'd go AMC Matador with a 5.7 swap and with a healthy ass cam in it. And that would be just nasty, just a, 430 horse 5.7. That would be pretty disturbingly sweet. Look, any of those kind of cars. What's funny? This has happened to me a few times on AMXs. When I lived in NorCal, I thought that I even left multiple notes on this dude's car. Like, if you ever want to get rid of this car, it was a 390 car. So so you got what you may be able to hear, it may not. You got the bicycle crew is actually running out here, and these guys get their bikes, and they've got like neons and all this other stuff on their bicycles, and they'll run through here. And some guy was playing a trumpet while they were riding their bikes. That was pretty cool stuff. But anyway, it was an AMX, and I was going, dude, if you ever want to sell it. I finally talked to the guy, and he goes, nah, man, I can't get rid of it. It was my uncle's car, and he was an older dude too. He goes, it was my uncle's car. I just can't see myself getting rid of it. I do like to still drive it, so I can't do it. So I full respect. Then when I moved to Velocito, there was a green one that car was gone within just a few days. I never had a chance really to talk to the guy, but the other end of that was Javelins. And I had a buddy of mine that had a Javelin. There was a couple of Javelins that I could have gotten my hands on, I think, and just do a Trans Am Javelin. I thought that would be one of the sickest things that you could do, and just build an honest to goodness TA Javelin. And again, dropped on a set of like Hillbrand wheels and 392 or something along those lines underneath the hood with a TR 6060, and just have a badass combination, something along those lines. And that's the kind of stuff that I like. I'm just kind of over the newer stuff. And this is another thing too, guys. So Hard Rock was asking about, what my dream build would be. My wife and I actually saw the truck. There's this area that I live in is infested with drop 4x4 F-150s on welds, whether they're naturally aspirated, supercharged, turbocharged, nitrous oxide, We have got for this, again, it's like Golden Corral down here for those. Lots of LS hot rod trucks too, man. I mean, again, a lot of that stuff running around here. So there's no want, for variety. You got a lot of these things. But for good reason. I mean, they're really good. They're really fast. You can play with them on the street. It's all-wheel drive, opens up a whole new world. If you want to go out and make some draggy videos, just go play the four-wheel drive stuff. There's some differences in the body control module, allows you to have a little bit more fun. So because of that, and because of the fact that it's so much more fun, just because of that, guys really have been gravitating towards them. And I can tell you this, of the newer builds, those things are just fast hell on the street, but they're also a shitload of fun to drive. So again, that would be the direction that I would go. And to be honest with you, you're going to end up spending the same kind of money either way. So you might as well get something newer, fun, and fast. And that's kind of the idea that I was looking at with that Ford. I like the idea of the LS. Matter of fact, for you guys, maybe don't know this, but I was actually talking to a guy on a Cat's Eye, a white Cat's Eye regular cab short bed 5.3 truck, and had damn near put the deal together. The truck was kind of halfway built. And my thing is, I was just going to buy the truck, twin turbo, wheels and tires, and that was going to be it. And I thought that would have been a lot of fun because, number one, I'm more of a truck guy than anything else. I'll be real honest with you. Cars are cool, but my brain, for whatever reason, just clicks with trucks a little bit better. Unless it's just a really weird car, and then I'm just as into those as I am the trucks. But stuff like Mustangs and Camaros and Chevelles and stuff, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that it's not enough of a variety of it. Anyway, the point that I'm getting to is that truck. I mean, we had kind of worked out the deal, talked about money, everything was good, and the guy just said, man, he called me up and he goes, man, would it piss you off if I told you I didn't want to sell the truck? I said, absolutely not. Matter of fact, I mean, I can understand why you wouldn't want to sell it. The guy had a lot of money in it. And the deal that he was trying to make was basically he wanted to exit on this build. He needed a golden parachute, and I was there to offer it up for him. And the more he thought about it, the better he thought it would be better for him to keep the truck. He ended up keeping the truck. And the last time I checked in with him, it's a pretty sweet build, but I don't even know. He may still have it. He may not. I know that he was pretty deep into it. And I think I know he saw it through, at least for the most part, but who knows? But anyway, had that gone, I mean, had he just had maybe a 51-49 decision to sell it as opposed to keep it, it would have been a done deal. So, AMC, that'd be sweet. I love AMCs, all of them. I don't have any beef with any of those. Another one is an Eagle Talon. If I could have found a decent one, that'd have been a lot of fun to do. Skid saying something about a 74 Javelin. Yep. I can't remember the year that my buddy's was, but yeah, any of the Javelins I like. Skid saying H-Town is always on the forefront of what's fast. Yeah, there's some stupid fast stuff down here. The boys out of Midnight have got some nasty F-150s and Mustangs. Pasadena Performance, Pasadena Speed Shop, on to Gas. All these guys are within a rock's throw from me. And yeah. All right, saying for me, F100 slammed down and the biggest NA crate engine I could fit in the engine bay. So at one point, my dad and my grandfather had an 84 D100 with a 225. This is the slant 6, which was a freaking dog of an engine. But that's the one you got to control the skid. That's the truck. He traded it in on his 88 Silverado. My dad wanted to buy that truck and put a 440 in it and just do burnouts. That's all he wanted to do with that truck, which it would have done really well. And the good thing is a truck, you know, so there's radiators that'll keep it cool and all that good stuff. So the only problem, it's not that I don't have any issue of putting big engines in anything. It's just the cooling of it gets real sketchy. I mean, real sketchy. And so you gotta make sure you got enough cooling system to make it work. It's funny. And that goes for anything. Now, anytime you put an engine any larger than a 480, 490 cubic inches in a car or a truck, cooling becomes a big deal. And then it just cruising down the highway, they can overheat. You got to be careful with that. You got to watch your revs going down the highway. Oh, and the guys, I guess I don't know, it wasn't Power Tour, but they were doing something very similar to Power Tour. And one of the competitors, I guess he was going to Evadale, and one of the Camaros, the big block nitrous Camaros, they have their own trailer on the back of it. And his cruising speed down the highway, his car is probably an 8-second car, and its cruising speed down the highway is like 55. Because you can't go any faster. It's gonna spin the motor to death, and it'll end up overheating just cruising down the highway. Saying guys are doing the 7.3 NA gas in the bump sides and dents. Yeah, I tell you what, I love bump sides. I love dent sides, and that's a hell of an engine. And again, I had to take a bite out of my own hat when it came to the 7.3 because the initial reports were saying it was not good performance engine, is a rotating assembly that's designed to basically be run at wide open throttle indefinitely. And although it may do that, it'll do that, making a whole lot of horsepower. Hardar saying, or maybe a small block with nitrous. Oh, I'd do that all day long. See, it's the Ford Megazilla 7.3 600 horsepower, but it's spicy. Ooh. Yeah, 23 grand is a bunch. It's just saying, have a 6-speed scat pack and like the sound, but it seems like it's going to get me in trouble as it sounds best at wide open. What do you recommend for a little bit more sound? Depends on what you want to do. Get rid of rear. Ah, crap. Okay, don't do that. Reset. Don't do what I did, because if you don't do it right, you'll actually ruin the performance of the car. Get that cat back out from underneath it and put a MagnaFlow cat back on it, where you just have the muffler and you don't have a resonator out back. 2 thumbs up. You'll like that. That's what I would do if it was mine. I would tell you to do a reso delete, but again, if you don't do it right and you don't know what you're doing, you can actually screw the car up. So don't do that. Go with a good cat back and don't worry about anything else. Just go with a full cat. Don't try to save money on a reso delete. It's not worth it at all. Eric is in. Good evening to you, sir. Hardar, yeah, the active exhaust, yeah, that can be. There are ways to get around that. I can tune around that, but there are devices that make the problem go away for the check engine light. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool. The different, it's always fun to plan and what's going to be the next cool build and what's going to be the next, how do you say, the next it car, right? And eerily enough, the next it car is the one that you just really don't see coming, but it'll be the one that people start to really gravitate more towards because the rest of the stuff that's out there is so expensive. And I'll be honest with you guys, when it comes to the old school stuff, and it's been kind of a thing for a while, as long as people don't mind them, 4-door variants of your favorite 2-door sports cars. So 4-door Nova, 4-door Chevelle, station wagons in some cases. those are the new it cars. And the reason for that is they've been disposable items for so long. When you can find a decent one, they're kind of hard to come by. But when you can find a decent one, people are scooping them up and making hot rods out of them. A lot of Malaise era stuff is really starting to get hot now because, again, everybody that has had any kind of an itch for like the Novas, the Chevy 2s, the Mustangs, the Challengers, the Cudas, and all that other stuff, people just turn sour to them. I get there's always going to be somebody that's going to go gaga over those things, but let me remind you guys, do y'all remember the 70, let me think about this, the 71 through 74 or 5, whatever, the big body Mustang? And the whole reason for the fact that it was a big body car was to house a big block that ended up never really being put in that car. Those cars were so maligned at one point, like you couldn't give them away. I remember as a kid reading an article where they were talking about cars that you need to buy in hot rod because you can get them. People just let you have them in some cases. And that was one of the cars. Now those are some of the most sought after. It's kind of weird. So again, what's going to be hot? That who knows? But I'll tell you this, a lot of the guys that build the big wheel cars, the big wheel hot rods, I mean, they'll put 4 doors up against anything. And that's part of it is, you work with what you got. And a lot of times it ends up being really cool. So you start looking at the Bob cars, the Buick, the Oldsmobile, Pontiacs, people are scooping those things up. Anything with 2 doors that ain't one of the popular cars, those are the first ones that you're going to look at. But if you you love the look of, I keep bringing up Chevelle because it's the easiest one to pick on. If you like the look of that, maybe you can find a 4-door variant for sale out there. You might find one pretty cheap. Novas are the same way. And you can end up with a pretty unique car too in the process. And that's the thing. People are kind of looking for the different, the unique, the cool, the interesting, something that catches your eye, but then you're like, oh, cool. I'll tell you one. Okay, so it wasn't that long ago, but the 57 Chevy was like the car to have. Everybody had to get a piece of that, and the pricing on these things was absolutely through the stratosphere. And then I remember there were some guys that started building 4-door variants of it. This is up in Dallas. And you would see them running around, and it was this killer 57 Chevy, just happened to be a 4-door car. And anyway, they were able to pick these things up for 1/10 of the cost of a 2-door. And in a lot of cases, they're in better shape, and they just had some really clean stuff. And I remember that from years ago, and it kind of planted the seed in my head where, why do I even care that it has 2 doors or 4 doors? It just, I guess 2 doors are sportier in a way, but if it's got a back seat, why wouldn't you want 4 doors? Anyway, it kind of changed my perception a little bit of what I thought was cool. Skid saying, thank you. Of course. Skid saying, B, the SS world is changing, buddy. I hear the R9 is in the US next year. Be interesting to see it and right. The super sport world is what he's talking about for bikes. So what he's talking about is this, we're living kind of a weird era with motorcycles where it's kind of an anything goes type of thing. It's this orgy of parallel twins, some triples. You've got middleweights mixing it up with big middleweights. It's like middleweights and cruisers going at it. Super sport class is pretty big. And so it started out as a 600cc 4-cylinder class has morphed into this. Well, you can have a 800cc twin, or you can have a 675cc triple, or you can have, anyway, there's a restricted GSXR 750. It's just a weird, it looks like something out of Caligula with the types of bikes, but the R9 that's coming out is pretty sick, and I can't wait to see it. The only beef that I have with the R9 is that it's using the CP3 engine, which is cool, but it's got to be in that 135 to 145 horsepower range. I'm really kind of tired, if I'm being honest. I'm kind of sick of the 900cc class bikes not making 900cc class power. And it's very frustrating because I'm used to 900cc motorcycles being top of the class hyper sports bikes. And to see them kind of neutered the way that they are is a little bit disheartening. I would like to see if the R9 can drop in at, say, at the flywheel, 145 to 155 horsepower. I may end up picking one up. And I'll just let that hang out there because it will be my Daytona being offered up by Yamaha. I would like to see something like that. And if that is something that they'll drop, that will be cool. If it's going to be 117 horsepower, like the CP3 that's in the Tracer and everything else that uses that engine platform, you know, the MT-09, the not XSR, Jesus Christ, that's the Indian, the other one. Anyway, I mentioned it in my last video too. Anyway, the XSR. If it's that setup, man, I am not going to be down for it, because if it's that kind of bike, and I get it, it's supposed to be the R6 replacement, but it can't make 120 horsepower because the R6 made 120 horsepower and it revved to the freaking moon, which means that you can gear the thing up like crazy. And now you've got torque multiplication. It's a completely different animal at that point. Let's see. Oh, Sovereign saying, I just saw a sweet 57 Bel Air convertible. Oh, the Continental kit. Dope. I like that. That's a sweet look. This kid's saying cars and trucks, world can't hold a candle to what's going on in bike land these days. Not even close. Not even close. There's some cool bikes that are coming out, but unfortunately, the bikes that I'm interested in, the bikes that I'm interested in are, again, there's some of the niche market bikes. Although I do have a buddy of mine that's about to pick up his Gixxer 1000. He's picking it up on Tuesday. So I'll be obviously meeting him up there. I'm liking a lot my Katana. I have not liked a motorcycle as much as I've liked that Katana. I really am enjoying that thing. Oh, Eric's dad had a two-door 57. Man, those are worth a freaking mint there for a hot minute. Awesome, awesome car. There was a group of guys in Dallas. They all ran as a father, son, uncle, their buddies, and their kids were all into the Tri-5 car. And there was a powder yellow 56 that it was like a gold, it was like an Aztec gold kind of color, 56 Chevy. Oh my God, man. I had a crush on that car. It was a pretty pissed off little small block car. I think it was a 383 or a 408. Really good running car. It would run it's about 1150, 1170 car. But it looked so good. It looked like something right out of like Friday Night Lights or whatever it was, you know, blacktop highway or 2-lane blacktop, whatever it was. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I can really appreciate the usable torque, making it fun on the street. For me personally, torque's better than horsepower. I'll agree with that. You can have torque. It can be there. You don't have to give up torque to pick up horsepower. Just look at the Panigale 955. I mean, that thing, the Panigale Twin, is 150 horsepower, and it makes a lot of mid-range torque. It can be done. It doesn't really take a lot to do it. It's just, will you do it? Just like the triple, for example. Look at what Triumph was able to do with the Daytona 660. There's a lot going on there. And there's a lot more that could be done, but it is what it is. I like the idea of the triple. I like the idea of the torque that it can make. It's just that you don't have to do away with it. Here's something else to consider. The displacement isn't going to be that far off from what the old 955 was that I have. And so that engine goes to 10.5. It's got phenomenal mid-range torque, and it was rated at 130. It's rated at 130 at the flywheel. That would be an easy thing to do today. If the R9's got it, I'm like, especially if it's light, because that's one of the calling cards of the R9, or that particular platform, the MT09 and the XSR 900s, that they're fairly light for what they are. They're about 25 or 30 pounds down from everybody else in that class. So, with a little bit different geometry, a good setup engine that's making 135, 145 horsepower like the old triple from Daytona, let her rip. I think it'd be awesome. Skid saying, how passes bill blocking Biden admin from requiring 2/3 of the new cars to be electric within X number of years? Yeah, that is an irresponsible pandering to a what is this? To me, that was an irresponsible pandering to a voter base that is a minor influence at best. It was such a nauseating thing. Realistically, it will not ever work. It doesn't work like that. Guys, what a bunch of flipping idiots, man. My God. But people voted these things in. This is why it's so important to vote, guys. You cannot mandate this type of forced adaptation of this type of technology, because it's based on flawed understanding of what it takes to actually create and make those types of vehicles. Again, this is why it is so important that you vote. I don't care if it's for the dog catcher. I don't care if it's for the trash company. You vote in every opportunity that you have to vote. That's your homework. If I will never tell you what to do with your life, except for in this one respect, and that is to vote and bring some friends with you. Bring some like-minded individuals with you, and you guys go vote, have a voting party. That's one of the most important things that you can do. Do not allow, and I mean in every election, I don't care what it is for, you got to do it. You can't think that your vote doesn't count. You have no idea how much your vote counts. You have no clue. Just the fact that you're there, just the fact that you're somebody, you don't even know it. You're inside, you're voting. Somebody sees your car and everybody else's car there. Maybe that pulls them in to vote. Maybe that peer pressures them in. Maybe like, you know what? I got to say something about this. Your vote counts. Your actions count. Your presence counts. It's not just the thing that you voted. Everything else that you're doing that's involved with the process has influence. You may not see it. You may not feel it. You won't be rewarded for it, but I can promise you your ass will be penalized if it doesn't go the right way. So get out there and do it, guys. And I mean, do it as often as you possibly can for every election, for everything that is out there that you have the ability to vote for. Sovereign talking about the Nomads. Dude, yeah, those are pretty sick. I kind of do like the wagons. Sovereign saying it's a small victory. Yep. And usable horsepower, actually rolling through the gears. I barely get out of third in the duck. I tell you what, man, that's one of the things that I really super heavy duty like about the Katana. Okay. It's what I really love about the Bonneville. Now that I've tuned it, put an exhaust on it. And it's what I love about the Daytona. The T-Bird is just a big lump and it's a heavy thing. So that one too, but if I'm rolling through the gears, it's like I was saying in that other video, if I'm not trying to leg the thing out to 12, 13,000 RPM, and I'm just kind of, just fanning through the gears to like say 10 grand or say 4,500 or 5,000 in the Bonneville, or say 8,000 RPM on the Daytona, I'm just kind of rowing through the gears. That's when those bikes shine. Yeah, the Katana is fast. It should be. It's a Gixxer K5 motor that's in the thing. It's not slow, but I love the way it looks, and I love the way that it handles. I love the way it feels to ride. There's not a lot about that bike that I don't very much enjoy with the Sato handlebar setup. That bike with the stock handlebar setup is a disposable machine, but the Satos transformed that ugly duckling into a bad-ass motorcycle. So I'm enjoying it from that standpoint. I love just kind of, I'll just run it out, 10 grand. Grab a gear, 10 grand, grab it, but I'm not wide open. I'm just letting it do its thing. And it's so good to ride. It's just a thing of beauty. And it doesn't give anything up when you're not, if I'm not laying it out, then I'm not missing the power because I'm not wasting my time there. And that's the thing. I'm kind of with you on that. I enjoy all of that. I mean, I'm not pinned at, 11,000 RPM going through a sleeper. It doesn't work like that. So anyway, I'm enjoying all of it. DM saying, "B, that Katana nails the Cold War kid wants." Man, I'm telling you, I love it. Yeah, no, that's the bike really does talk to me. Don't get me wrong. I love the newer stuff. Gixxer 1000, the really high hyper sport, super, all of that. But the problem is that, for crying out loud, man, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like it if it's there. And what I like about high horsepower stuff is that 3/4 throttle on a 200 horsepower bike is like being pinned on, say, a 150 horsepower bike. But it's not, how do I put this? It's like, I get it on one hand, but those bikes are inherently uncomfortable to ride. The Gixxer 1000 actually has comfortable ergonomics compared to some of the other ultra hyper sport leader class bikes. And so, I don't know. Part of me, look, I would love to get my hands on, either GSX-R 1000 is my all-time favorite leader class bike, just because it's Suzuki horsepower, which is always a little bit more. But I'll tell you what, again, the Katana is in essence a Gixxer 1000 circa 2005. Absolutely love it. Love the looks, love the performance of it. And I'm on the street, and yeah, I am a little bit of a knucklehead when I'm on the street, but there's a lot of guys that are faster than me. I'm still trying to master some of the roads that I've been riding on with that bike, because I swear every single sweeper turns into a decreasing radius corner, and I've yet to figure out the roads. And so I've been a little bit gun shy with it, and not super gun shy, just, mindful is a better way to put it. Hard Rock's asking, what year and engine package do you think was the best Impala? One of the 396s or the 427? The Impalas, I would say it was an L72 427 that you could get. I think was the most powerful. It was a 390 horse in the Impala. The 396s, I would always go 427, because the 427 is just a stroke 396. So the L72 427. Summer. Lowered chip foosed out Nomad. Yeah. Be nice. Saying, let's go. DM saying, yeah, it's all what moves you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the other thing, man. As long as you're having fun on two wheels, it doesn't matter. I am that dude, man. I've never met a motorcycle that I didn't like. So the only regret that I have with my Z1 is I put that Brox exhaust on it. Not that it was bad. It was just, golly, it was, I thought that I was going to lose hearing in my right ear one day. I'd forgot to throw my earplugs in, and that megaphone, it sat right here. And so you wouldn't think initially, I didn't think it was going to be that bad, but there's a tone to it. It was just rattling my eyeballs. I don't know. It's just a weird resonance with it. And anyway, I ended up, when I got the Katana, I traded the Kawasaki in on that bike, and I really haven't looked back. Eric's liking those style of those cars. Absolutely. It's just asking, what do you know about the 360 stroke to 407? It's a real popular setup. My cousin's getting one done for a 2000-ish truck, and I know nothing about it. Is it a good option? Yeah, it's a real good option. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a 4-inch bore with it's a 30 over 360 with a 4-inch stroke, and it does great. Nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Provided that it's, a street oriented, type of a setup, it'll be perfectly fine. The AMC, get out there and vote. Yep. It's good to say an MT-09 is about a perfect everything motorcycle you can find. You can tour, take it to the track, commute it. It really does do everything. It really does. And that's, 408. All the 408, 407, 406 combinations. That's just, you can go 403, I think, is stock bore. No, it wouldn't be. It would be with a 4-inch stroke. 398 would be a stock bore. 20 over, I think, is 403. 30 over is 408. So, yeah, trying to remember all my math from back in the day. Sorry, I'm voting for Donnie T. I think a lot of us are. Put some knobbies on the MT-09. I bet you could go down some fire roads. I bet you could. The cool thing about the MT-09, the CP3 is a really good engine. I mean, everybody absolutely loves that thing. So it's saying Trump 24. Yeah, vote. That's all I can say. Yeah, Hard Rock, I agree with you. It's getting to the point where you just can't help it. I'm in Canada, and I wish I could vote down there too. Yeah. Yeah, get Trudeau the hell out of there, dude. Get Castro's kid out of there. Got the flags going. Hell yeah. Consumers should always have choices. Yeah, they should. They should be able to choose for their own. That's the whole point of free market. Now we'll see about the thing with Chrysler. I don't know that that's going to be able to grow legs, but hope springs eternal, right? It's good saying those huge parallel twins on the T-Bird sound so dang good. Hopefully get it sorted out. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, but you're right. And I like riding that bike a lot too. There's just something about parking that thing at about 85 miles an hour and just soaking up the highway that I really like. Plus, things just a twist of the throttle from, clipping 100 miles an hour. So it's good saying those K5s go to 13K or even more. I know the old Gixxer 1000 would rev the moon. The K5 from back in the day was an 11.5 engine. The later one spent a 12.5, and mine is a 10.5 engine. It's got a little bit different camshaft profile. Gives better partial throttle torque production. But it's all basically the same. It's good saying 12K according to AI. The newer ones are, yeah. They're really good too, and they've got variable valve technology. I mean, they're really, 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 really good. And again, I don't care what a dyno reads. I don't care what is advertised. Gixxer Thal is always out in front, and that's just something that I'm objective. I'm not a fanboy of any brand particularly, and that thing keeps rocking. Let's see. Sovereign's hanging out with Eric. ZX4 double R goes to 16. Yeah, I remember the R6 went to like 16 or 16. She might have been 17. Yeah, Hard Rock. Go with the Bagger, Harley or Indian. I'd almost have to go Indian. Although I like the thing is I love Harley Davidsons as a machine. I really like Harleys. I can't own one. Oh, DM, yeah, playing in the 10,000 RPM range all the time is the playful sweet spot. It really is. That's when that thing is just real happy. I'd rather play at the 80% than be at 100%. Yeah, same. That's why I like the Katana so much. It's quieter. It makes a lot more power, and it's just it's just a happier bike, especially now that it's getting broken in. Because remember, guys, that bike, it was basically a new old stock bike. The guy only had like 240 miles on it when he traded it in. And I've been playing catch up with, oil changes and braking procedure and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I get it, man, for sure. Hard Rock's asking, did the flat-headed knucklehead had suicide brakes? I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't really know a lot about the flathead bikes. The knucklehead bikes, I knew a couple of guys that had them when I was in college, but I don't know enough about them, honestly. I know one of the dudes had a suicide shift, though, which was pretty cool. Skid saying the aesthetic of the Z900 RS, very cool. The riding I did on it was meh with a stock bike. Did like the 4-cylinder. Man, I got to tell you, dude, that bike, damn it, man, it's you guys have heard me, you've heard me say this over and over about that bike. It's like the B team was allowed to put that bike together. It was not put together by somebody that had experience with the original Z900. Or 900 RS, or I should say one. It simply wasn't, because was to make it mimic the older bike, and it did really good at, and it needed a lot of tuning and a lot of exhaust to get there. And I'm not going to say that I wish I hadn't done it. I'm glad that I did, but I got to tell you, man, that bike, all it needed was the Z900 engine. Why even screw with that? Give it something with about 120 odd horsepower. And I'd probably still have the bike, if I'm being fair. But it's a great looking machine, no doubt about it. Darwin saying his boss was able to get his hands on the 72 350 Elco. It's a bit rough. 61 Impala is beautiful. I got a friend of mine that's got a 62. He's saying, thank you, Canada. Sorry, 72 Elco SS. You could get it with a 350 or a big block 396. You could probably find a 454, but that would have been in 1970. Eric's saying, Skids, that's a nice bike. Yeah. Z900 RS is a really pretty bike. So I'm saying, I don't know anything about bikes. Sometimes I think I know too much. Stuart, thank you very much. What are the best years for the Fury? It depends on which ones you're looking at. So the Sport Fury, I would say 64, 65. The early stuff, like the Christine cars, it's just, well, I would say 58, mainly not because that's the year that Christine was made, but that's the first year for the big block for Dodge. That's the first year for the for what would end up being the 383, but it would be a 350 twin four barrel, then a 362, then then the 383, and then from there it went to the RB blocks, which would get you the 413, the 426, the 426 Hemi, and the 440 would come from that block. Oh, and the other small, the one before, you would also later get the 400, but that's a smaller motor. But thank you, Stuart. I appreciate that. I like the Sport Furies, though. Any of the mid-60s Sport Furies I would take. And those are going to be very similar to the Savoys of the time. He was saying, DM, great bike, especially if you like it. Yes, as long as you like it, that's all that matters. Kid saying the 58 Fury. 58 Belvedere is what, technically Christine was a 1958 Belvedere. And in the book, it's a 4-door. Red with a white top, I think. Yeah, any of the 72 Elcos would be an unleaded car. Oh, DM's hanging with Sovereign. Sovereign, no, e-bikes are kind of cool, man. It just depends on which one you like. My across the street neighbor had an 87 305 G-body Elco, but it sold here recently. Stuart, yeah, the 58 Fury is sweet. Yeah, they're all pretty cool. Any of the late 50s cars are pretty neat. I like that stuff. Skiz is like in the 79 or 80. I like the big body Elcos too. I'm more a big when it comes to stuff like that, I'm a bit more of a big body guy. I'm not really a G body. I mean, I like the G body cars, don't get me wrong, and I like the G body Elcos too. I like the bigger cars a little bit more. Oh, the CT90. There's some cool, like the trail bikes. I like those too. I like anything like that. I'm kind of a sucker for it. But anyway, guys, I got to wrap it up. We are now over an hour. Very nice. But guys, I do have to wrap it up. Listen, the voting thing, I'm really passionate about. Make sure you're getting out and voting. This is a major, major deal, especially now and until, forever. Just keep doing it. Bring some friends. And while you're doing it, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they ate it way more than you know. Guys, love each and every one of y'all. Could not do this without you. Stuart, appreciate the support, my friend. But with that, guys, I've got to split. Y'all have a great one, guys. We will see you on the next one. That's a wrap.